Hello, and a warm welcome to everyone to today's webinar on how to navigate web solution delivery complexities when it comes to life sciences. My name is Ronnie Verghese, and I am a senior director here at Indegene and your host for the discussion today. With me, I have two of my distinguished colleagues who will help us explore the unique challenges and opportunities with conceptualizing, building, and delivering web solutions for life sciences organizations. Um, Let me introduce our panelist. First, we have Ravi Pandey, who is Indegene's AVP of Web Solutions. Ravi is an experienced CMS technology consultant. He's a certified Adobe Experience Manager architect, which is also called an Adobe Certified Master, with extensive experience in the field. Currently, Ravi leads the web solutions business at Indegene, where he drives innovation and strategic direction in web technologies. And we also have Amol Bhore, Senior Director of Web Solutions, also at Indegene. Amol brings over 25 years of experience in the IT and services industry with a strong focus on program delivery. He has a proven track record of managing large, complex programs for clients in the life sciences and healthcare industry. At Indegene, he heads the web delivery. And in the session today, we will focus on themes such as why the web is critical for life sciences commercialization, what makes life sciences web programs unique compared to other industries, then best practices for planning and executing web strategies for life sciences, including insights from some recent launches. Right. So let's kick this off with some basics, perhaps. The web has grown to be more than just a channel for the life sciences industry. It's a hub where digital and the physical touch points sort of converge, right? And it's central to creating impactful experience for healthcare professionals, patients, caregivers, and even payers. It caters to the diverse needs of the of these teaming stakeholder groups that we see. Let us now dive deep into how web is pivotal to the pharma commercialization strategy, aligning with the business KPIs and thereby setting the foundation for success, right? So, Ravi, let me ask your thoughts on centrality of web in the omni-channel roadmap that we have.
Yes, Roni, as you said, the web does play a pivotal role in omni-channel strategies because it is often the first point of contact, either for HCPs who are looking for medical information or for patients who are coming to the site and looking for things like calculators or for their symptoms checkers and things like that. So that's the starting point. And so these are coming from different segments. So HCP is a different segment, patients are different segment, and the experience need to be tailored to them. So it's about delivering the right information to the right audience, and it doesn't stop there. So as it's the starting point, so this is where the journey begins. The engagement journey begins for HCPs and patients. So it could be through dynamic tools like symptom checkers that I was talking about, or other calculators for patients. And for HCPs, it's evidence repository, for example, or other medical resources that they are looking for. So this is where journey starts, and every interactions from here on is an opportunity to advance the commercialization goals of the company. So it is indeed a pivotal and a central channel in the omni-channel strategy for any organization, especially for life sciences.
Thank you, Ravi, for setting the stage. Now, let us address a key question. How are pharma web programs different from other industries? The unique demands of the pharma industry, which makes these programs anything but ordinary, right? Amol, maybe your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's indeed a very central question to how pharma programs differ from other industry web programs. The first and foremost difference is the regulatory compliance. The pharma web programs need to adhere to FDA guidelines, HIPAA and GDPR rules. Every piece of content that has to undergo medical, legal, and regulatory review, which is also called MLR review. in the pharma industry before it gets published on the website. Compliance ensures the safety, patient safety, and data integrity, but also can slow down the process, go-to-market process considerably if the right strategies are not adopted. Then there is also a need of targeting, having the diverse target audience to be kept in mind. For instance, SCPs need clinical insights and trial data, while patients look for education and adherence tools. Let's not forget the payers. They are focused on cost effectiveness. This audience segmentation demand highly tailored content that works across multiple channels. So these are the two important critical factors that separates pharma web programs from other industry, Ronnie.
Thank you, Mul. Those were some great points there. Apart from compliance and audience diversity, Ravi, your thoughts on any other factor that come to your mind, perhaps?
Yeah, apart from what Amol mentioned, I would say security and data privacy. So these are very critical, and especially in web programs, we handle very sensitive health data, and it is really essential to have a very secure infrastructure so that we don't get into breaches of health data and all. Then there are certain content that needs to be protected, so that must be gated and safeguarded against any unauthorized access. uh, Apart from that, another critical factor would be localization and integration. So the web doesn't work in isolation, right? It needs to be integrated with other business applications like CRM, consent management. So that is one. Other would be the localization is what works for one country may not work for the other. And it's not just translation from one language to another, but we also need to consider the local nuances. So these are the additional two, I would say, Roni, apart from what Amol already mentioned.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ravi. Now that we've established that pharma web programs need to align to meet the audience needs, could you share, Amol, your thoughts about how does it stack up, say, against the drug commercialization life cycle? I mean, it's an important aspect. The drug discovery companies completely,
Yeah,
it's an epoch moment for them. So does it work?
yeah. No, that's actually a very pertinent question. The web programs support everything from pre-launch education campaigns to post-launch patient engagements and SCP engagements. But here is the challenge: it all happens under extremely tight timelines, requiring collaboration between marketing, regulatory, and clinical teams. And while the pharma programs require precision and compliance, they don't always need heavy customization or dynamic content. But what they demand without compromise is the accuracy. So these points have to be taken into account, for the pharma web programs, right?
Okay, so let me sum up what I've heard until now, right? So pharma web programs essentially balances creativity with precision, accuracy. It has to navigate industry specific challenges, and all this while remaining aligned to the business goals. I mean, there's no compromise there, right? So they're fundamentally different from web programs for the other industries, those in which they tend to have fewer compliance restrictions, simpler governance, and less critical data handling needs, possibly, right? So in the pharma, the web plays a critical role in supporting various goals. Say, for example, from educating healthcare professionals to empowering patients and even driving brand loyalty, right? It becomes an indispensable tool. Can you tell us more about pharma website archetypes and how they serve their stakeholder segments? Ravi, I'll perhaps pass this to you.
Sure. So yeah, there are certain archetypes in pharma web world, and each archetype caters to a goal, one of the organizational goals. So four primary archetypes would be starting with CME, continuous medical education. So, for healthcare professionals, these websites provide resources to maintain and improve their knowledge about what is happening in their area of expertise, what advancements are happening, what innovations are happening. So, they are serving the goal of keeping the HCPs up to date with the latest innovations and also the best practices. So that is CME. Then the other archetype would be brand portals. So as Amol was talking about creating that awareness, pre-launch campaign, etc. So brand portals serve that goal where the sites are usually for HCPs, uh, where they need to authenticate themselves to access it, and the information they get from there is about the efficacy of the drug or the side effects of this drug, prescribing information, dosing guidelines, these kind of things. So that comes under brand portal, which is for a specific brand from that organization. The third archetype would be the patient the patient archetype, where this is meant for the patients, where they come to your site looking for certain tools or calculators, or looking to learn more about the disease state awareness, some symptom tracking, and all of that. And the last one can all be put into one bucket of corporate sites. So these sites are primarily the entry point for any of the visitor. There are other smaller ones, for example, uh, a microsite or a landing page for any specific campaign. But these all would come under one specific archetype, which is corporate sites. So they all are serving different goals. Corporate side is obviously about awareness, about gathering the leads, patient engagement archetype about patients, and the other two caters to the HCPs.
Okay, no, okay. All right. So Ravi, you highlighted just how essential web is in the pharma industry for HCPs, patients, and so on and so forth. Talking about the archetype. That said, uh, aspects that impact the pharma industry are also regulatory compliance and the audience complexities, the diversity that exist. How does this influence the way companies approach their digital presence, Amol?
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, the regulatory compliance and audience complexities, uh, how they impact our pharma web programs or the digital presence for pharma companies. So, I would like to mention four factors from these two categories, broad categories, right? So, first one is of course targeted audience engagement. So, first segment is healthcare professionals who need scientific and evidence-backed content to support treatment decisions. The second set of audiences are like patients and caregivers. They need understandable, empathetic resources to guide them during their healthcare journey. And then there are payers who actually focus on value propositions, the cost effectiveness, and the clinical outcomes. Then there is also a second factor in terms of medical accuracy and compliance. Every piece of content from drug indication to marketing claims must pass through strict MLR reviews to ensure FDA guidelines and GDPR rules are complied with. Then there comes the localizing the messaging through the web as a channel. The pharma website need to adapt their content to different countries, reflect regulatory requirements of that particular country, the drug availability, and cultural preferences, like Ravi mentioned. And then also comes the lifecycle alignment. The web content evolves with the product lifecycle, building awareness pre-launch, educating during the launch, and supporting patients post-launch with adherence programs. So that's how the web program content also needs to be delivered uh, uh, through the life cycle. So these are the four important factors that has to be, that's how these two broad categories impact the web channel, Ronnie.
Right. You mentioned factors such as audience engagement, amongst others, right? That leads us to a key to discussion around key performance indicators and measurement. KPIs in a web-centric omni-channel strategy are not just about digital engagement, but are also directly linked to improving of outcomes, isn't it? And perhaps driving the significant brand impact that is there. Uh, what are some of those important KPIs and metrics that life sciences organizations must consider? Ravi?
Yeah, let me take that question, Ronnie. So, see, I was talking about those four archetypes, right? And these archetypes cater to certain goals. How do you measure with how you are faring against those goals that you have set for yourselves? So, these are measured using some of the metrics that we capture, and these metrics then help you understand how you are doing against those KPIs. So the first one would be the engagement metrics. You want HCPs to be engaged, right? And how do you know whether they're engaged or not? So there are certain metrics that we track, such as how many times are they downloading content, how many times are they registering for certain events like webinars or congresses that we are advertising there. Then how much time are they spending on your website, going through scientific resources and other materials. So that's on the HCP engagement. On the patient side, you want to measure how are you able to onboard those patients to your website. So you have certain programs running. Are they signing up for that? The tools, are they using those tools, then adhering to the program that you have set up, and are they inputting those data points? So with these you measure whether you have activated the patients and onboarded them or not, or how well you have done that. Third one would be about your drug, how popular it is, are the HCPs prescribing it or not. So in certain countries, you are able to get that data, like how many times your product was prescribed by the physicians. So tracking that will help you tell the how popular your drug is. The fourth is what Amol was talking about, the compliance and safety. You have put certain measures in place to ensure that you are compliant and your data is safe, but is it working? So how do you measure that? So again, there are certain metrics that we follow for that, such as uh, audit trails. So you figure out whether everything, all the process steps that you had set up, they have gone through each of these or not. Workflows that you have for approvals and reviews, whether those are getting executed or not. And the last one I would say would be the brand perception. See, after all, it's all for the brand. Now, how your brand is being perceived in the market by the HCPs or by the patients. So those you get either by doing some dipstick surveys or talking to the physicians or getting or polling the patients. So these are primary KPIs and matrices, I would say, Aruni, that we capture for our web programs.
Right. Okay. That's a good summary. While we talk about it, there's one other aspect that I want to touch upon, which is an effective planning. I mean, a good planning or an effective planning ensures that web is able to fulfill its central role in the pharma omni-channel scheme. What are the key elements, Amol, you would like to you would consider when planning for a pharma web to ensure that it drives both, say, engagement and outcomes?
Yeah, like Ravi mentioned, web is not just another channel, right? It's at the heart of the omni-channel strategy that connects everyone and drives the important outcomes, the KPIs that what Ravi talked about. Also, it's not just about pushing the content out, right? It's about creating personalized, meaningful experiences to the people that to whom this content matters, right? So there are many elements to consider for the for planning purpose, but I would like to mention four of them, which are like very critical, right? The first one is stakeholder collaboration. Any web program needs is for any web program we need to align medical, regulatory, and marketing teams to streamline the content and compliance workflows. Um, it also needs to consider the content modularity. Without having the modular content, to customize the messaging for different audiences and markets, everything has to be done from the scratch, and that basically delays the go to market timelines. Then there is a technology and integration piece. It's essential to invest in a right CMS platform. That itself can be a complex topic for based on various factors, and we need to also ensure that integration with integration of these platforms with the tools like Viva, Salesforce, and other CRMs to streamline the operations, and advanced analytics in terms of leveraging the latest tools and techniques to identify the engagement trends and optimize the campaigns dynamically to ensure that the cost effectiveness is also kind of achieved. And final piece is the governance, because of the heavy regulatory compliance um, in which we operate in. The governance framework has to be set up in a such a way that the MLR reviews, the periodic audits, and risk management aspects of the planning are addressed. So this kind of thoughtful strategic planning is doesn't just improve the patient care and engage the healthcare profession more effectively, but it also leads to measurable business impact. So these are the things that we should take into account only.
Okay. I think that was a great point, Amol. When pharma brands focus on creating meaningful, personalized web experiences, they're not only there to engage their audience, but also to drive real, lasting impact on both patient outcomes and business successes. Uh, but none of this can effectively happen without ensuring compliance, right? Which is the cornerstone of every web initiative, especially in the pharma industry. So, how can pharma companies navigate the challenge around country specific compliance needs, nuances, say, of MLR reviews for web content, and testing approaches? All this while accelerating the web build process, right? I mean, you cannot stall that anyway. So, how do you balance these? And what are the key considerations?
I'll take that. So yes, Roni, as you said, country-specific compliance, and that's the key, right? Pharma compliance is very complex. You are compliant in one country, that doesn't mean you are compliant in other countries also. So you need to cater to each of these nuances. So every country will have its own way of reviewing and approving the compliance steps that you have taken. So in the US, compliance with FDA's 21 CFR, for example, that's very crucial, right? In Europe, you have GDPR for data privacy, then you have EMA regulations for drug related content. So, and in countries like Japan and China, you have local privacy laws and restrictions on promotional content. And all of these add to the layer of complexity that we have for pharma compliance. The other one would be the content requirements. See, the labels or the efficacy claims that we create for any drug. It's if it is done, let's say in one language, maybe English for one country, US. It's not that it can be used everywhere. You need to tailor it for each of the local markets. Even those textual content, which are like labels and uh, disclaimers or efficacy claims. Then, in some markets like Germany, they prohibit any direct to consumer advertising of prescription drugs. So, you need to address that. And certain places you can do, in Germany, you cannot. So, these are certain complications in compliance for pharma websites.
Clearly, life sciences compliance is complex and very significantly across countries. I mean, that's what I realize. And that adds another layer of intricacy to global web strategies. Uh, to successfully navigate this, companies must ensure that their web content is not only compliant uh, with country specific regulations, but also aligns with broader industry standards, right? Now, how about challenges that arise during the medical, legal, and regulatory reviews for web? These reviews are essential to ensure compliance, but they also bring their own set of hurdles, isn't it? Do you want to cover those perspectives, your perspective, Amol, on managing those effectively?
Yeah, sure. Answer is going to be a little long, but I'll try to, kind of succinctly talk about it. So, the medical, legal, and regulatory reviews are actually very critical, like we have discussed till now. The web content for web content, the MLR introduces some specific challenges. So, unlike static print material, the web content includes dynamic elements like interactive tools, videos, user-generated content, all of which require MLR oversight. And the web must also align with the approved messaging from other channels like print, email campaigns to ensure the consistency and compliance. Then website often requires frequent content updates for the new drug approvals, in case of any regulatory changes or in new marketing campaigns, to align with the new marketing campaigns. So now, as content needs to be MLR approved before publishing, the governance and processes had to be established to handle these challenges. And it is also essential to minimize the error-free website for MLR reviews, which actually needs heavy emphasis on the testing. So, from testing perspective, if we have to ensure there has to be a specific testing that has to be done only for regulated content, uh, to verify all the content adheres to the country specific legal and medical requirements, and including disclaimers, indications, and approved claims. And there also has to be an audit trail so that that particular thing ensures all MLR approvals are traceable through audit trails, which may require integration with systems like VivoBot. So this kind of specific testing will only be able, with this kind of specific testing, will be able to overcome the challenges, that actually uh, arises due to having the MLR done for the web type of content.
All right, Amol. Now, moving from compliance to perhaps launches, and launches are very critical. These are epoch moments for pharma companies, and managing a launch requires extreme careful planning. What are the key aspects to consider for successful launch from a web standpoint? Ravi, if you would please.
Yes, Roni. So, see, the importance of effective planning cannot be overstated when it comes to launches. Pharma launches are really event that we all are very, uh, we all pay very close attention to, and it requires very detailed planning. And it's not just because it's the moment of truth for them, but because it requires several teams to work together in a very orchestrated way. So things like pre-launch awareness. So Amol was talking about the campaign earlier, right? So you need to create awareness about this launch, and that starts way before the actual launch. You do certain campaigns, certain emails, or teasers in social media. So you create that awareness for the brand. Then content deployment. Now, content cannot be deployed until the approval is done from FDA, right? But you cannot wait for that to prepare your content. So you create it, you localize it, and keep it ready to deploy it as soon as the approval comes. And this is happening just before the launch. uh, at the same time, it's not happening only for one country, it's for multiple countries, so you need to have it localized. And sometimes the approval may come with certain changes to that content, so you need to quickly update that and deploy it. All of this requires very detailed planning and coordination with multiple teams. And we are talking about web, but web doesn't work in isolation, right? As I said earlier. And uh, this launch activities is pervasive. It's through other channels also. So you need to work with those people who are working on the other channels. Then monitoring, real-time monitoring as things are progressing. You launch the website, the traffic is coming in, whether everything is working properly or not. From your campaigns, people are able to come to your website or not. So all of these requires very good orchestration of certain activities which are planned like way ahead of this launch. So that's how we plan and execute the launches, Roni. And as you said, effective planning is the key here.
Thank you, Ravi. So, as much as it is important that we plan well, there are the meeting launch deadlines often hinge on our ability to respond to regulatory feedbacks as well, right? Quickly, effectively incorporate those. Uh, Amol, you want to talk about some best practices, good practices that can help teams manage this process of feedback effectively?
Yeah. So, like Ravi mentioned, the crux is to start with a good planning, and there are some best practices that has to be incorporated in the planning itself, right? So we need to address unique challenges and the complexities of the regulatory compliance by identifying the diverse audience needs. Also engaging in early collaboration with various stakeholders in our planning phase itself, so that last minute issues are avoided. We have to also ensure that localized content requirements are met and they are tested before it goes to the launch. Then agile process has to be employed to shorten the review cycles. Automation has to be leveraged wherever possible to ensure that the approvals, the testing and approvals, etc., process are expedited. And also during the launch, it's essential that a specialized team is basically deployed, which is dedicated for the launch, making the successful launch, not only from just from web, but from all the departments that participate in the launch. So these are the key lessons and the lessons that we have learned from our own various launches, and these are the things that we should take care, in our planning as well as in our execution, Ronnie.
All right, Amol, thank you. I see that we're possibly running out of time. There are a few questions that I see popping up. Let me take one of those. Pharma brand launches are notoriously intricate. Yes, they are notorious and they are intricate. So, requiring careful planning and coordination across multiple teams and stakeholders. Based on your recent experiences, what were some of the key lessons learned in managing them? Ravi, do you want to take that?
Yeah, it's easy. I just spoke about it. So, see, the key for us is identifying dependencies among different teams and processes. So, how it should happen, and you map that process based on these dependencies. So, if you can plan it well and execute that plan, taking these dependencies into considerations, I think we can avoid all the surprises that we typically see in launches.
Okay. I see there are questions coming up on chat, but we completely run out of time, so we will have to respond back later. I'd like to thank you, Ravi and Amol, for such insightful perspectives. The web is at the heart of pharma strategies, clearly acting as the primary platform for engaging healthcare professionals, patients, and payers, all from ensuring compliance and MLR approvals and managing localizations and even personalizations. The web anchors pretty much everything from pre launch awareness, post launch engagement. However, the success comes from combining compliance and rigor with innovative planning to deliver an effective and timely solution from a web standpoint. So,
Mhm.
thank you to all our audience for joining today. I'm sure you found the session informative and exciting as much as I did, chatting with the two experts in the field. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Ronnie,
you.
for hosting us.